Hello, welcome to the latest live edition of Last Mile Boxing in partnership with the South Bank Bar Sitter. Tonight we're joined by Ander. Good evening, Ander.
All right, mate.
So obviously before we make a start, obviously some big news that we've just showed on the screen. 24th of June, South Bank Bar in Nottingham. An audience with Lee Wood. Tickets on sale from today. Get yourself down there, 20 quid. You get to hear from Lee Wood about his career and life story, and you get a photo signed as well. Cheap at half the price.
Absolute bargain, mate.
Absolute bargain. So, Ander, coming into the show then. So, obviously tonight we're going to be talking about kicking off with Shakur Stevenson, big fight of the weekend versus Oscar Valdez. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, what a cracking fight. This has gone a bit under the radar, hasn't it? Because of Serrano Taylor, which we'll move on to shortly. This Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez has gone completely under the radar. Super featherweight unification fight, WBC, WBO. This, for me, is Stevenson's real big test. I know he's been in with some decent fighters, but this is the one for me, mate. Valdez is a dangerous fighter. There's been a few essays here and there about Valdez and camp and all that malarkey. Put all that to one side. He's a dangerous fighter with some power. Personally, I still think Stevenson comes out with a win. I think he gets a points decision, but it won't be a whitewash, mate. It won't be like you've seen in previous Stevenson fights. Valdez is a tough cooker. It wouldn't surprise me if he put Stevenson down even in the fight. But yeah, real tough. How do you see it?
I think Stevenson's the next big name, especially in world boxing. I rate him. Southpaw, slick, done everything that he's meant to have done. But I agree, Valdez is a tough test. 31 now, though, Ander, so he's not getting any younger, is it? The reflex won't be getting any younger. But Valdez can bang. 30 wins, 23 KOs, so he can bang. So it's quite intriguing, but Stevenson's quite rangy, isn't he? So, Valdez is going to take some shots if he wants to close that gap. So I expect Stevenson to stop, but I think he'll stop him, Ander. I think he'll stop him. Yeah. I think he'll stop him late.
Big shout, that is, mate.
Yeah. That's how highly I rate Stevenson.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think Stevenson's real quality. Valdez is good though, mate. And he's improving fight on fight as well. I can't see Stevenson stopping him, but I do think Stevenson wins on points. But great fight. This propels him, mate. And then he's. I'm assuming he's then going to be looking for unifications. So that will make him the WBC, WBO champion.
Well, it's a bit of a bonus as well, Andy, because the way obviously they're on separate coasts, aren't they? Taylor and Shakur Stevenson. So hopefully one fight should lead into the other. Definitely coffee time. Definitely coffee time if they're in the UK if you're staying up for them. But it's nice. It'd be nice if we could get to see all the action because it's definitely too good a fight to miss out on, isn't it?
It is. Just picking up a comment in the sidebar, Carl. Fitz Springer, good evening. Think this will be closer than people think. I agree with you, Fitz. I like to say I think Valdez is improved massively. Being under that shadow of Canelo, it's got to rub off, anti mate. You either shrink into a shell or you come out and blossom as a fighter when you're in that sort of company. And for me, Valdez has come out fighting. As I was just saying though, this leads into hopefully another undisputed champion. There's a couple of other champions out there. You got Roger Gutierrez, who's the WBA champion, and Kenshi Agawa is the IBF champion. I think I've said that right. Again, both real good champions. What I like is those two fighters have been beat, so they know what it's like. Stevenson, compared to the other champions, he's still a baby. He's
Yeah.
only had 17 fights. To be in the position he's in after 17 fights is outstanding.
He's only 24, isn't
he? Yeah. It's outstanding, mate. I just hope Valdez don't old man him a little bit in there. He's got to get to him first, but Valdez's way of winning the fight is to make it a rough street fight, put it on him. If he can put it on him, that's the thing for me. He's going to be chasing the fight, Valdez. There's no two ways about that.
He's got to close that gap. That's a conundrum for me.
He's going to be chasing the fight. I can see Stevenson leading by halfway quite convincingly. And question is, can he keep Valdez off for the full fight? I mean, you might be right, mate. Valdez might take too many shots coming in.
Yeah, I'm not saying it won't be a close fight, because it will. There'll be some rounds at a nip and tug. Yeah. But I just can't see how Valdez closes that gap. That'll be my main concern. Has he got the quick feet to get within range? And I would suggest probably not.
Fitz, just seeing as you put a comment in there, mate. Who do you see winning this fight? Let's have a prediction off you. So I'm going Stevenson on points, but I think it'll be fairly close.
So I'll go late. I'll pick a round. I'll go round 10, late stoppage. So should we move on while we wait for Fitz to post?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going with an announcement that's it's been on the back burner, let's say, but it's been made official now, which is the return of Ricky Hatton. This has been it's been said that it's an exhibition. What I like about this, I've been a bit critical of older fighters coming back and fighting, and the reason I get critical of it is they try and spin it and make out that it's a real fight, and then it clearly turns out it's not. Ricky Hatton and Marco Antonio Barrera, they're not saying that this is a real fight. They're not saying that this is a major comeback like some of these other guys are. They're saying this is an exhibition. And we know very well from having Roberto on the show, who very, very well. We know that Ricky and Marco have a lot of respect for each other. When they were in the primes and fighting, they'd go to each other's fights. So there's a lot of mutual respect there. This could be a great evening, to be honest with you. And anyone that's not seen either of these two fight, I know they're not. They're going to be nowhere near what they used to be, but bit of nostalgia for me. Could be a cracking evening. How do you see it?
Yeah, I just think it's one. If you haven't watched these two fight live, it's worth going along to watch it, isn't it? Because they're both icons, when all's said and done. Both well past the prime, don't get me wrong, but it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Let's not make it out to be more than it is. If it gives Ricky a motivation to get training and keep himself fit and healthy, it can only be good.
Yep.
Are they going to go in there and start trading up? No, but for me, it's still worth a view. I'm not sure about the undercard, if I'm honest with you, with Dan Hardy and people like that fighting. But I think it will sell out. So
it'll be an evening of ex-fighters, won't it? Which is not a bad thing, mate. As long as it's seen as it's meant to be seen, as an exhibition. I don't have an issue with it. People know what they're going to be buying. They know what they're going to be going to. It's not like they're expecting something they're not going to get. Just picking that comment up from the side. Fitz says, I think Shakur will win, but let's see. Anyone wanting to jump on screen with us, by the way, tonight? Carl's posted the link in the sidebar. Just jump on that link and then Carl will let you in. Okay, moving on, Carl.
Okay. Now this one's, I love this fight. Yeah. Although Andy, I've got to say, I was disappointed in the interview with Shane Watson that you've given Joyce some shit on these shows And your arse went, didn't it?
No.
Your arse went. It did. You had ample opportunity to put it on him.
Why would I put it on him? At the end of the day,
you could have gave your opinion.
No, well, I've said to you, Anta, that Joe Joyce has strong attributes. But I still stand by what I says that I think he's robotic.
I gave you an
that being said,
I gave you an open goal when I said the bit, and people can watch this when the interview drops.
Yeah.
About he gets slated for his boxing style. That was an open goal for you to come in and maybe explain some of your comments.
I didn't feel I needed to, mate.
Go on, anyway.
That's the point. I have said I think Joe's robotic. I do think he's robotic, but he has one of the best jabs in boxing, as I've said. He has one of the best chins in boxing, as I've said, and one of the best engines.
Did you beat Parker?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He does, mate. I've also said on the show I don't think Parker is anywhere near the fighter he was. I think he's regressed as a fighter. When he was fighting out of New Zealand and he picked up the world title, he was quite aggressive as a fighter. That's gone out of his game now. I don't know why. I was expecting that he might get back into that, having the coach.
It's not Andy Lee's style, though, is it? You know, he's a bit of a slick coach, isn't he, Andy Lee? I don't know why.
He's from that Kronk. He's from that Kronk gym, mate.
Yeah, but like I said, he likes Joe Parker to move a bit more, don't he? I think that's what he's trying to bring into his game. Because when he was the old Joe Parker, who stood in training, he got tagged a lot. If you think about some of his fights. And if you're going to go up through the divisions, you can't get tagged. Up through the levels, you can't get tagged how he used to get tagged. So I think Andy Lee's just trying to remold him to be the best version that he can of him.
So Matt Nash in the sidebar, just going back to our last topic. Happy to see the exhibition. Hatton has said that him and Brera have got an understanding, so you know they won't be taking any liberties with each other. Fitz has come back in, asking a question, and you can answer this one, Cole. Can Parker handle the pressure?
Are we talking about Joe Parker or in general?
I think we're just talking about can he handle the pressure from Joe Joyce.
From Joe Joyce. Well, Joe Joyce is going to put it on you for 12 solid rounds. He's got an engine beyond belief, hasn't he? I think it's a good fight. I think Joe Joyce wins, but I don't think he gets. I think Parker can handle the pressure. I can either see it going to points or a late stoppage. Neither one of them are getting banged out earlier. No. So yes, he can handle the pressure. To be honest with you.
Good evening to Joe. Good evening to Cedric. If either of you want to jump on, lads, Carl will put the link in the sidebar again, as if by magic. Joe's put, I like Parker, but Big Joe's a unit. He needs to go to Joyce's body from the off. I'm not sure, Joe. I see where you're coming from. I'm not sure he can get in range enough to do that. Joe Joyce has got a serious jab ante. It's going to take some sort of a fighter to get inside that. I'm not sure that Joe Parker's got it in the arsenal anymore.
One thing about this fight will be a very laboured fight because neither of them are the quickest, are they?
No, I think you're right, mate. Yeah, it's not going to be an all-action fight. It's going to be more of a chess game, and it'll be a case of Joe Joyce just coming out with a jab. I mean, he can win a fight on a jab. You've seen it already with Dubois. Here's a question for you then. Dubois was seen as dangerous, heavy hitting. Is Joe Parker currently better than him?
Yes, would be my answer. I think Joe Parker's a better. Good evening, good afternoon, Cedric. Where you are? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good evening, guys. Thanks for letting me join.
No problem.
Cedric?
Hello, Andy.
For anyone in the sidebar that don't know, Cedric's a coach in Canada. Often jumps on the show when he has the time. So thank you for joining us, mate.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. In the middle of a Joyce and Parker.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
At this point of Parker's career, specifically for Joyce, I think Parker would be. He's still definitely a respectable fighter, but I think more of a gatekeeper at this point. Like, you know, I don't think we'd expect him. Well, I guess with Tyson Fury out the way, you know, the ball's kind of in the air right now about who's going to take over. But for Joe Joyce, I think this is a good step-up fight for him.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting him to win. I'm not sure how, but I know Carl hates it when I don't make a specific prediction. But I don't know. Give me a minute. What's the date for this one?
Not on that. Well, funny you should say that, Cedric. Funny you should say that. We've just had Shane Watson on, who's a chief operating officer of SJAM Boxing, who manages Joe Joyce, and he's given us an exclusive.
Nice.
Of the date and the venue of where the fight's taking place. So I'm not going to say it now.
Okay.
It'll be on the video that will drop tomorrow morning. UK
only on the Last Bell Boxing.
And you got it, Cedric. You got it.
Nice. So yeah, is this? I usually have my box rec up, but this is probably Joe Joyce's toughest test so far, correct?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. And how did Parker look in his last match?
Awful, to be quite honest with you, mate. He was in with Chisora for a second time.
That's right.
And if you remember, I mean, the first fight was quite close. The second fight, Chisora looked old, and after 3 rounds, I thought Chisora was finished. But Joe Parker didn't seem to be able to stop him. He didn't seem to have the killer instinct that I was just talking about to get him out of there, which is worrying when you're going in with someone the size of Joe Joyce.
Yeah. And Joe Joyce has a lot of momentum on his side right now, so mentally and physically. So definitely expecting a win out of him, unanimous decision.
And there's a lot to play for, isn't there? Because the winner of this is likely to get to jump in with either AJ or Usyk.
And what is the date for that one, for that rematch?
That's not been announced yet, is it?
I don't think so. I expect it will be July, mate.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn said it was sometime in July, but they don't know where and what specific date yet. So many questions, Cedric. So many questions.
So what this is looking like, it's going to be an interim WBO title fight. Joe Joyce has sat at number 1 in the WBO rankings. Joe Parker sat at number 2. Okay. Which makes sense that it's an eliminator. Whether it's a final eliminator is another matter. Interestingly, though, and we just talked about this with Shane. There's also another route that Joe Joyce could go, because he's sat at number 2 in the WBC rankings, with Joe Parker sat at number 3, and America's very own Deontay Wilder somehow is still sat at number 1. So if Tyson
right now he's still at number 1,
still at number 1, mate. If Tyson Fury does decide to call it a day, even if it's just for a short period of time, that's going to leave a vacant belt. And by rights, with Joe Joyce being sat at number 1, he should get the first shot against Wilder, if Wilder's still active.
And sorry, you said that one was for the WBC, or which one?
Yeah. So he's not. Joe Joyce is sat at number 2 in the rankings. Yeah. Wilder's sat at number 1 for the WBC.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know. I guess the only explanation, I'm not trying to defend it, but the only explanation I can see why they have him there is because, Tyson Fury is no question number 1 right now, whether he's retired or not. And I don't know. I guess they're looking at the trilogy to keep him at number 1. But yeah, that would be up in the air. Very interested to see where all these belts are gonna scatter to, and then who's gonna be the one to claim. Anthony Joshua and Usyk, that's going to be very interesting. The winner out of that one, I think, is probably going to be the front runner for who we think is going to be the king, the new king of the division. Anthony Joshua still has a lot left, though. Even if I don't know. I know you're gonna be mad at this. I am predicting Usyk to win the rematch again, but I don't think it's gonna be the end of Anthony Joshua's career. And as long as he doesn't have like a devastating knockout, which I don't see happening, I just think Usyk will outbox him.
Again, Cedric, there's a couple of comments that Shane Watson talks about in that video regarding some rumours within the boxing circles. It might just change your mind on that one when you listen to him. But again, it'll be in the video. So, Andy, do you want to pick a couple of comments up in the sidebar?
Yeah. So Matt Nash has put, don't think the Parker-Andy Lee combination is the best. I kind of agree with you there, Matt. He's got a lot of respect for Parker, but he's not the attributes for the Kronk style. Think Joyce breaks him down and maybe stops Parker late. He's going the same as you, Carl.
So let me just jump in there, Matt. So do you think Kevin Barry did a better job with Parker than that Andy Lee's doing?
How many fights has he coached him for, though?
I believe it's 2.
Just the two fights, just the 2 most recent fights.
I just think it might be a bit harsh to be jumping in on the coach already after 2 fights when, I can actually see a progression since he came over from Kevin Barry's coaching.
Well, you said the last match he didn't look too hot. What about the one before?
Same, mate.
How do you look good against Del Boy Chisora, though?
Box and move, mate.
But not many.
You're saying that Andy Lee's
are there. All I'm saying is not many have achieved to look good in front of.
No. Agreed. But you're saying that Andy Lee isn't the usual Kronk style trainer, and he likes to move. That was his style when he was a fighter. But Parker, for me, was stuck in between 2 styles. He didn't really. In my opinion, he lost that fight against Chisora, that first fight. Nonsense. I know you don't agree, but I think he lost that fight. It was really close.
Nonsense.
The second fight, it's not nonsense.
It is.
It isn't, because Andy Lee said it in the post-fight presser.
Must be true then. How many people said it wasn't true?
He's the coach for the guy that just got the result. Of course it is.
Nonsense.
Time out. Okay, time out. Please refresh. I'm glad I'm going to ask this question because you guys are going to give me both perspectives. I do remember the highlights. This was the fight where Chisora kept backing up into the corner and telling him
that was the second one. Well.
The second one. Okay. And what was the result from that? And give me both perspectives from both of you guys.
What round did he stop him in, Carl? Do you remember?
Parker stopped Chisora.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was mid to late, Andy wanted, but I can't remember the specific round.
But it was kind of back and forth up until that point.
No, it wasn't even back and forth, mate.
No.
It was all one-sided. After 3 rounds, I mean, Joe Parker put Chisora down, and that doesn't happen. Chisora he's either one or 2 things, mate. He's either done as a fighter, or he had a really bad camp because he was gassed after 3 rounds. He got put down, and then and his only defense was to back into the corner and take shots, because if he'd have took shots clean in the middle of the ring, he would have gone down again.
It was shocking, wasn't it? Let's be honest. It was
a poor fight. But the point I'm making is Joe Parker couldn't put him away. And there was nothing coming back. It was all Parker's attack, and that's why I think that Joe Parker's regressed as a fighter. I kind of go with what you said earlier on, Cedric. He's more of a gatekeeper now than a challenger for a world title. My
only point being, his last fight under Kevin Barry was against his fellow New Zealand fighter. Is it F.A.? Is it pronounced that way?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that was a better performance than either of the Del Boy fights, because he clearly, his Del Boy fights were a lot better than that performance.
All I would say is this. There's been so many close fights. Huey Fury is a prime example. There's been so many close fights. Andy Ruiz, where the fights could have easily gone either way. And Joe Parker's got the nod in all of them. And they weren't clear wins. there's a big, there's a big argument that he lost the Fury fight. There's a big argument the Ruiz fight. The same. It's a fighter that for me can't close fights out.
So Joe at the sidebar says Parker's biggest problem is he gasses quite early. Joyce on points. He goes on to say they were both gassed, and that's Parker's biggest flaw. He always gasses second half of the fight. If he does that against Joyce, he's in big problems because obviously Joyce is going to go over 12. Matt Nash says, I just think Parker has maybe hit a ceiling already.
I think everyone's got a similar sort of feeling in this fight. It all depends on the consensus seems to be it all depends on how well Joe Joyce fights in the fight rather than how well Parker does. What was your prediction, Cedric?
Joe Joyce by unanimous decision. I'm not sure. What's how many knockouts does Joe Joyce have? Like, what is it?
I don't know actually.
He's more of a boxer, not like
he is.
Well, he's only had 13 pro fights for a guy in his 30s because he spent such a long time in the amateurs.
Yeah,
I think his knockout percentage is really good. But there's levels, isn't there? And we've said, and that's one of my one of my concerns when I was, and Carl thinks I dig Joe Joyce out, but one of my concerns was I wanted to see him fight a world level fighter. Well, even though I've been knocking Joe Parker, he's been at world level for quite some time now. So this is that test.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed, and I've said this before, how quickly Joyce has moved through the levels. He's had to because of his age, but I think he's rocketed through the levels.
Yeah,
personally,
for both reasons, because of his age too. Has had the fast track. He got all the experience in the amateurs, and then so now he has to fast track into the pros. So yeah, I like the projection. I like how Joe Joyce is looking. I've been watching him since the Olympics, and I'm expecting him to do big things.
Just Cedric, you missed the first topic we talked on. We spoke about Oscar Valdez against Shakur Stevenson this weekend. Do you want to just quickly give your prediction for that?
Yes. I'm expecting Shakur Stevenson by schooling. I really think Shakur Stevenson, boxing wise, I don't know about outside the ring, but boxing wise, I really believe he's mature for his age. And not to take anything away from Oscar Valdez, great fighter. That fight that he had with Burchell, the last one was close with the Brazilian. I actually thought the Brazilian might have edged that one out. I forgot. I could pull out my scorecard. I forget, but that was very close. But even not just a knockout against Burchell, but that fight, he displayed good boxing skills there. So I expect him to land a few punches on Shakur, but it's one of those. It's going to be a fight that I believe is going to be on the scorecards a wide decision, but the rounds are going to be closer than what the scorecard looks like. So I see
what you're saying there.
Yeah. What did you guys briefly say on that one? Not to go over it too long.
I've got a round 10 stoppage for Stevenson.
Okay.
And I've gone points, mate. Stevenson points, but I think it'd be closer than people think. I think Valdez has improved dramatically. Just picking a couple more comments up in the sidebar. Matt has just said Joe Joyce has 13 wins, 12 by knockout.
Yeah.
Joe, he has, but his chin gets him out of trouble. He gets caught with big shots consistently.
That'll be Joyce.
Yeah. Joyce does get caught a lot. Even the Takam fight. I mean, Takam's tiny compared to Joyce, and you'd have thought Joe Joyce's long jab would have kept Takam off. I think Joyce didn't respect Takam's power. Maybe.
I can't remember him being buzzed in that fight, though.
He wasn't buzzed, but he was getting hit a lot. And you can't do that with better quality fighters. You can't do it.
Well, maybe
I know he's got a good chin, mate, and I know he's capable of walking through shots, but you can't carry on taking big shots against heavyweights.
I think one thing that's helped him in turning professional late, that he hasn't had too many professional wars. In the
Miles on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of
Yeah.
amateurs, only 3 rounds, and it's more safer. They call 8 counts, just from getting hit hard. So he hasn't had that much, specifically hard punches on him. So maybe that's helping with his punch resistance now.
And Cedric, what do you think about Ricky Hatton coming out for an exhibition with Marcos Antonio Barrera? Have you heard that one?
I mean, I don't know what is the perfect for a charity event. They're actually gonna hit each other hard.
They just call it exhibition bout, fella. 2nd of July in Manchester in the UK.
Okay, well, as long as they both agree, it's just kind of like sparring, like playing with each other. They're not actually trying to go for a KO. I don't mind that, but I hope they're not actually a serious competition.
No. They both agreed, mate, that it's they're just going to be tickling each other.
Yeah. For a nice charity event, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, should we move on then?
Yes, mate. So, I'd like to, before we go into this card, I'd like to get the perspective from the opposite side of the big pond. This has gone down, Cedric. This has gone down really, really well, and there's so much positive vibes and positive press in the UK. How's it seen over in North America?
Not as much press, to be honest with you. I mean, I follow a lot of boxing stuff, so it comes up on my feed, but it's not as big as I would like it to be, because this is a great fight. I'm expecting a KO from the American.
Are you really?
Listen, Katie Taylor is one of the greatest boxers.
I just think you're anti-Europe, aren't you, Cedric?
No. It's no disrespect to Katie Taylor. Much love. I followed her since amateurs, because she came up with one of my boxers, Mary Spencer, who won a couple of medals there too. So great boxer. I think Serrano has some. Obviously, every boxer says they have something to prove, but I believe even for female boxing, not too many females actually have that KO power. She's one of them. That's what I believe is the difference. In Katie Taylor's past couple of fights, what is that, Delphine? That she the first one was scary. I thought she lost that one. But,
I did.
I agree with you.
So that's and speaking of wear and tear, I think it's just a wear and tear. That's maybe I should have started with that. I don't think Katie Taylor is in her prime anymore.
No,
that's the reason why I'm saying this. If this was a couple of years ago, it would have been a different story. Maybe I should have started out with that. So that's the main reason why I am picking Serrano.
And she's southpaw as well.
That's right.
Let's jump into the card. We'll come back and talk about the Taylor Serrano fight in a little bit more in depth very shortly, but let's pick up some of the undercard fights. A couple of fighters that you may not know a lot about, Cedric. Skye Nicholson, Australian fighter, decent amateur. She's in with a fighter called Shaniqua Paisley Davies, who's 3-1.
Okay, Skye Nicholson. She's southpaw.
Oh.
Anyways, I recognize the name. She's a good boxer.
I don't give your show a plug very often, but I think Mike or Four might have covered Skye Nicholson in one of his shows.
Yes, I recognize the name.
She's comes across really well.
She does.
She's been picked up by Eddie and Matchroom. I think they're trying to progress her a similar sort of way to a fellow country lady's been brought forward. Because she's looking great. She sounds really good on the mic. She definitely has a bright future. I mean, Ebony Bridges obviously she's shot to stardom with winning a world title just recently, and I think they're trying to progress Skye in a similar sort of manner.
And Cedric, she is in fact southpaw. You're correct.
Yes, I do. Then I do remember her seeing her fight too. Yeah, she's a very good boxer. Yeah, and she's already, like I said, she's already thinking about her career outside of the sport. With would you say with the broadcasting? She's already done some broadcasting, or
Yeah, she has. Yeah.
You gotta, especially in boxing, man. And in female boxing, where the money is not as big as the males, you have to think about the business part aspect too. This is how you pay your bills and stuff like that. So you're only in your prime for a certain amount of years, so you want to take full advantage of that. So that's good on her.
Matt Nash in the sidebars put I like Skye Nicholson, nice style, takes her time, picks her punches. I agree, Matt. She don't seem to have been phased coming out of the amateurs into the pro game. She seems to be flourishing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on up the card. I'm going to miss out a couple of the fights because the fighters that I don't know whether Carl will know. Let's just pick up on this one. You may know these fighters, Cedric. Rashat Mati is fighting Joe Eli Hernandez.
Yes, Rashat Mati. I recognize that name too. He has a good amount of knockouts on his record. Oh yes, I do remember him now. Yes. He's
sat at 11 and 0, and Joe Hernandez is sat at 12-1. Super lightweights, these two.
Yes. I'm gonna go with Mati. Rashad, what's his last name again? Sorry.
Joe Eli Hernandez.
No, sorry, his opponent. The opponent.
Oh, Rashat Mati.
Yes, Rashat Mati. Yeah, I'm going with him.
Okay. Moving on to Galal Yafai in only his third pro fight. This is actually for the WBC international flyweight title. He's fighting Miguel Cartanaga, I think his name is, something along them lines. Who's 17-6-1. So big jump up in levels, fighting somebody with a lot of experience.
He could go in for a world title in that division now. Give Yafai.
He's real quality into it, and Eddie Hearn's got a lot of belief in him to be putting him in with this kind of level fighter now.
It's not a great division. Let's be honest.
Sorry, which fighter are you talking about? I missed it.
Galal Yafai.
Galal
Yafai. Okay. Just come out of the Olympic squad. Absolutely world-class fighter as we speak now.
Yes. I remember him. And his two brothers that also
box
too,
right?
Yeah.
They were very good boxers as well, but I think Galal was a bit something special, and so does Eddie Hearn, because he's just going to push him through the levels very quickly.
He's the youngest. He's the youngest one out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember exactly who he is. Yeah. Definitely a good boxer. This is where is he in his career now? How many fights does he have?
I think this is his second pro fight, and into it.
Second pro fight, and he's fighting somebody with 17 fights.
I believe so.
He's 17-6-1. His opponent.
Okay. That's that. Doesn't matter the losses. In this is 17 wins.
I'll try just for the fun of it, Matt. Seeing as though your comment in the sidebar says so.
Old Matt digging you out like that.
I'll try and pronounce it again. Miguel Cartanagan. Cartagena. That's it. Miguel Cartagena. So Matt's put in the sidebar.
I bet it's nothing like that, really.
Love this show just to see Andy try pronouncing foreign fighters' names. To be fair, Matt, you're right. I blow it every single week, don't I? I've got some more to pronounce in a minute, which is going to make you laugh even more. Okay, swiftly moving on to a fight that's gone completely under the radar.
Hold on a minute, Andy. Can I just do my call do my call bit about get out your fight? You know how Mike always comes out with the same bit. You must watch this kid. He's the next big thing. He's going to the top. Well, Gilal Fight really is. He really is going to the top. Watch out for this. Watch out for this guy. Watch out for this guy. He's going to the top. There you go, Cedric. What was that like?
You got it, man. You got it. But seriously though, about this kid, he has a motor on him, and he doesn't stop. It's like seek and destroy, but in a smart way, not just in a reckless way.
It's quality. It's quality. Sorry, Andy, carry on.
Okay, so moving on to a fight that, like I say, it's gone completely under the radar. It's for the undisputed super middleweight championship. You have Franchon Cruz Dizern, who's 7-1-0 against Ellen. This is why he makes me do it. Against Ellen Cedrune.
I go with that one.
Cederuz.
Cederuz.
I think that's close enough. I'm quite happy with that one. I'll give myself a gold star for that.
Yeah.
So this fight has gone completely under the radar. Obviously, I mean, this may be a first time you've ever had 2 fights on one card for undisputed titles. Anybody in the sidebar can you name anymore?
This one's for undisputed also.
This is undisputed super middleweight.
Wow. Interesting.
So Dizern is the WBC and WBO champion, and Cederuz is the WBA and IBF champion. I mean, they both only had 8 fights each. Maybe tells you a little bit about, still, unfortunately, a little bit about the lacking depth of certain divisions in women's boxing, mainly the higher weight divisions. They seem to struggle a little bit for fighters, but even so, undisputed fight on a card like this it's fantastic.
Well, it does smack of that though, don't it? If you're 7-1 and 8-0 and you're in a unified fight, it shows there's no depth there, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, mate, it's the progression into it with women's boxing.
But what I don't understand is obviously these 2 fighters have got no profile. Let's be honest, I didn't know him before I saw this matchup, before this card.
Not to us, because neither of them have fought in the UK. But that doesn't mean they've not got any profile in the States.
Right, and Cedric, have you heard of these 2?
Franchon Cruz, yeah, I believe she's a common opponent of Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. They both beat her, but it was tough fights for both of them.
So who promotes it then, Cedric?
That I'm not familiar with who's familiar with each promotions like that.
Yeah,
like, you guys are.
I'm not saying to catch out. I'm just trying to gauge where the profile is. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I recognize Fran Cruz, good fighter, common opponent of both of them. I'm not familiar with the opponent, so I'm gonna have to go with Cruz on this one.
Yeah.
Once again, though, guys. Even though it may be not a stacked division, let's say these girls are putting it on the line against each other. Yeah. Neither of them are scared to lose. I just wish we saw more of that in male fighting, to be honest. People kind of like protecting their own. We've said this before on the show, haven't we?
Yeah.
Counterpuncher in the sidebar, just going off the topic slightly, I got a feeling that Valdez for the upset. Big bold prediction there, mate. But good on you for sticking by your guns and believing what you think.
Who's the favorite with the Serrano and Taylor? Taylor, I'm assuming.
No, I'm sure when I looked at the odds, it was Serrano.
Really interesting.
Just before we move on to that, just one more fight, Cedric, and then we'll move on to that and we'll talk about it properly. This for me is the fight of the night.
Oh yes.
Jesse Vargas against Liam Smith.
Oh.
Wow. So Cedric, this is where you tell us that Vargas is going to win because Liam Smith's from the UK. Over to you.
No. This is going to be a very close fight, and you know what? No, I am going to go with Liam Smith. I am honest. I'm not just saying that. I'm going to go with Liam Smith. Jesse Vargas is going to put up a good fight like he does with all of his fights. He always puts up a good fight with whoever he fights. When he's
very inactive though, Cedric, isn't he?
Yes, very inactive. And when he's fought the top guys, even though he's put up a good fight, he's lost. Liam Smith is not one of the top guys, but this is an even fight. But like you said, the inactivity, and I just, I'm picking Liam Smith just a little bit better.
Very close record, Cedric. Jesse Vargas 29-3-2. Liam Smith is 33-1. Very close. And also, you can argue very close on the fighters that they've lost to. So Jesse Vargas has lost to Mikey Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, and Tim Bradley. None of which is any disgrace losing to. All world-class fighters.
Yes.
Liam Smith lost to a shocking decision in Russia against Kurbinov. Disgraceful decision.
Outrageous.
He's lost to Jamie Munguia, who's gone on to prove just how good he is. And obviously the famous one was his fight against Canelo with a ninth round stoppage for Canelo. But
I'm still stand by though that he probably gave Canelo his best fight in recent times. Liam Smith.
Did you see that fight, Cedric?
Off the top of my head, I do remember seeing it. Off the top of my head, I don't remember that, like the highlights, but
so Liam tried to he did his best to put it on Canelo at times. No one does that to Canelo. Everyone tries to back foot box Canelo, don't they? No one tries to stand and trade body shots, and that's exactly what Liam was doing. And that was the shot that caught Liam in the end. But he was having a lot of success early on in that fight.
Well, and from just from that experience of fighting, one of the number one guys in the sport, just gives you that confidence. Even though it was a ninth round stoppage, he did hold his own for a lot of that fight, and just taking that experience just should help him for the rest of your career.
Liam Smith was almost the Mexican. He was ripping the body shots in. And he was having early success with Canelo, but then obviously Canelo took over a little bit. He won't, he's admitted that himself. But people, especially in North America, I might add, tend to sleep on Liam Smith. Liam Smith, obviously 33 years old now. This is his final shot to get another world title. He's been a world title holder before. And a win here against Vargas really does open them doors up. I still think he's one of the best middleweights around. Name me a middleweight that beats him.
No,
light middle.
Light middle. He'd be competitive with everyone. I think just because for most of his career, most of his fights have been over in the UK, so he hasn't got as much North American coverage. So that's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of people are sleeping on him. But and I'm assuming why that might be the reason why. I don't know what the odds are, but actually no, these odds would probably be even.
Yeah,
might be in a touch for Vargas, but just from having that name. But
I just like how Liam Smith's spiteful. That's what I like. He's a spiteful fighter, and there's no messing around with him, is there? You don't want to be your friend before the fight. He fought Anthony Fowler last time, who's from his hometown. He don't want to shake hands because he likes to get in there and be spiteful. I mean, Andy will tell you, I told Paul Smith when we interviewed him that Liam Smith was my favourite Smith brother fighter, which might not have been the smartest move. But I really rate Liam Smith. I think he's a quality fighter with a bit more of a push and a bit more of exposure. Could have been the flag bearer for British boxing over the last 5 years for me. He could have been right up there if he got the push, instead of having to go to Russia and get robbed and things like that.
Unfortunately, he's been tagged with the Unizin club, and it's been very difficult for both promoters, because he was with Frank Warren.
Yeah.
When he was world champion. He's I think he got a little bit sick of not getting fights, so he's moved to Eddie Hearn, and he's almost in the same boat.
I would argue Warren did a better job for him.
They're finding it really, really difficult to match him, which is why he's having to do stupid things like go to Russia and fight somebody in the backyard and get ripped off. I mean, I'd argue if he'd have knocked Kurbanov out, he still wouldn't have got the result. Honestly, mate, disgraceful decision. So he's having to, do that. He's having to go to areas where the scales are not balanced. But I think I'm in agreement with both of you. He's got the bit between his teeth, Liam. It feels like he's been hard done to. He feels like he needs to prove something.
Well, it's his last go on the merry-go-round, isn't it? It's his last go.
Yeah, probably.
And this would again, speaking of his last shot, this would really be a big last shot. Like this would really help him this win against Jesse Vargas.
He loses this, Cedric. He retires in my eyes. He'll probably retire.
Yeah, either retire or just have a few local fights just for.
I don't think he's interested in that. He's proved himself against the Eggingtons of this world and the Fowlers of this world. I don't think he'll go back down to that level. I think this is last chance saloon for Liam Smith.
Yeah, exactly right. If you don't have that motivation to get in there, and you get in there with somebody that's hungry and has that motivation, it's not boxing not a sport where you can take a title.
You could argue very similar for Jesse Vargas as well, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm assuming. Well, how old is? We should know these things, but I'm assuming he's in early 30s too, or late 20s. Depends how old he is. I'm not sure how old he is at the top of my head, but
he seems to, every time Vargas seems to step up to the real heights, though, he seems to come a little bit short.
Mm-hmm. And in Vargas in Vargas doing something in politics as well at the minute, Cedric, in America, into I believe he's involved in a lot of politics somewhere, which. Keeping him out of the gym.
That I'm not familiar with. Remember, I'm in Canada, so I only know what.
Same thing, innit? Don't worry about
it. Anyways.
Carl, can I give you a little tip? Don't invite him on the show and then rip into him like you are.
This is nothing to what I say when I'm on the Canadian show, is it, Cedric? Let's be honest.
We give it to him too.
Yeah, it's all good banter. For all the Canadians out there, it was a joke. Don't start hitting me up on Twitter, please. I know there's a border. There. It was a joke.
Let's jump into some verdicts then. How do you see the fight going, Carl? What's your prediction?
So I think Vargas' inactivity is going to come back to cost him in this fight. So I'm going to go for the championship rounds. I'm going to go for a round 9 stoppage.
Wow. Cedric?
For Liam Smith, I might add.
Is this a 10-round fight or 12?
12.
Let's go round 10 stoppage for Liam Smith. Round 10. And usually I'm usually the decision picker.
I'm gonna go very late. I'm gonna go round 12. I think Liam stops him very, very late on. It's difficult. I mean, you could say the same in England at the minute, judging shocking all over the world, but it's difficult to go to somebody's backyard and get a result unless you're winning rounds very, very, very comfortably. And this is going to be a close fight.
Yeah, exactly. And the specific reason why I picked Liam Smith by stoppage is because Jesse Vargas is not. He's a smart boxer. He likes to come forward, and of course Liam Smith likes to. He's a smart boxer, but also likes to come forward. So I think it will be close. I don't think there's going to be too much lateral moving around, and one of them is going to be looking for the stoppage. And I think Liam Smith is going to come.
Liam Smith will put money in the bank by ripping them body shots in early on.
Again, studying. Yeah, if he studied, well, obviously, I'm assuming his coaches are studied that success they had against Canelo, and just applying that to other fighters. If it worked against Canelo, should work against anybody else, right?
Vargas is 32, by the way, so there's not much between them in terms of age.
Okay, swiftly moving on to the headliner. This is absolutely fantastic for boxing. Boxing in general, not just women's boxing. This is brilliant for boxing.
Yeah,
the fact that 2 female fighters for an undisputed title are headlining a card in the main arena in Madison Square Garden. Outstanding, mate. It's outstanding. And long may it continue. This, for me, I'm a little bit disappointed if what Cedric's saying is right and it's not getting the press in the States that it's getting over here, the positive press. I think they've been on a few shows. Eddie Owen was saying they've been on a few chat shows that not even the male fighters get.
Good Morning America. That's what they've been on. There you go.
They've been on
at the same time, remember you got Shakur Stevenson and Valdez on the same day too. So that's really taking up most of the other press. Like for example, they've made I call them 24/7s. That's what Mayweather and De La Hoya started it when they make.
I love them programs. They're great, aren't they?
Yeah, the little TV series they do about each fighter.
Yeah,
they made one of those for Stevenson and Valdez. I think there's 2 episodes, but there's nothing like that for Serrano and Taylor, right? So I guess there's nothing for the North American audience to really grab on.
Cedric, do you think there's gaps in DAZN's programming for the build up to the fight? Because behind the ropes and whatever you want to call it, these build ups. Surely Serrano versus Taylor deserves a bit of narrative behind it, doesn't it?
It definitely does. I like, again, those even after the fights where I forget which, I don't know, Showtime, one of them shows does like an epilogue or something like that where they follow the story after the fights. They follow both fighters, follow them to the locker room, and then a couple of days after. That gets more people, gravitate. So the next time they hear that name, oh yeah, I remember that person. I want to go see that fight. That's what helps grow the sport a little bit more. So that's, I guess, one of the reasons why this fight specifically hasn't got as much hype as it should be.
I'm surprised at Eddie Hearn though, because obviously I know he had the Sky platform in the UK, but he understands more than most regarding building that narrative around the fighter. So not just when they're in the ring, but when they're out the ring, it makes them more marketable, more commercial, and people buy into the stories. So I just don't quite understand why he's not done this on this, what you could argue is one of the biggest fights in history, male or female, you could argue.
Is there anything special about this specific weekend? The only reason I'm asking is I don't know, wondering which one of the promoters should have change the date at least a week or two. I don't know, just the.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we call a bank holiday, which is a public holiday on Monday in the UK, but it's nothing particularly special, to be honest.
Cedric, with America being as big as it is, and you've got 2 fights going against each other, one on the East Coast at Madison Square Garden, one on the West Coast at the MGM Grand. Do the boxing news only cover the fight from their end of the country?
No, not in this case, because in this case, these the male and female fights are two actually big fights in boxing in general. No, it's the whole, it's like the whole continent covers it, really. It's not just a regional thing for these specific fights. Sometimes it is, for example, in a lot of the fighters that come out of California, because it's a very big state, so they kind of talk more about their fighters there. And I guess the same thing more so in on the East Coast too, like in New York and New Jersey, the bigger boxing towns. But in general, like I said, specifically for this fight, Stevenson and Valdez and Serrano and Taylor, these fights are just big in general. So no, this fight's big in general. Well, Stevenson and Shakur is, again, because of the TV shows, Serrano and Taylor should be a lot bigger than what's being promoted.
Yeah.
So
I heard an interesting interview with Michaela Mayer, who pointed out something that I'd missed. There was talk at some point during this build-up that they wanted to everyone's been talking about making female fights 3-minute rounds instead of 2. And there was talk at some point in this build-up that they wanted to make this the first one. Obviously, that's not happening. It's 2 10s, 2-minute rounds. And Michaela Mayer come up with a really interesting thought, and that is that the 2-minute round scenario suits Katie Taylor a lot more. Her style being the amateur style, she throws a lot of shots, which suits better to a shorter round. Whereas Serrano's a little bit more, takes a little time, a little bit more, and 3-minute rounds would have suited her a little bit more. So because of that, I think Michaela Mayer's gone for Taylor.
Okay, real quick, can anyone maybe in the chat just real quick research how old is Amanda Serrano? The reason why I'm asking that question is because I talked about Katie Taylor before. You just mentioned the amateur style. Again, if this was a couple of years ago in her physical prime, I would say all those things would take into factor. The only reason why I don't think they will take into factor is because as an elite athlete, when you're in your mid 30s, that's when specifically like facially wise and physically you might look the same, but little things like your reaction time and reflexes slow down a little bit. And that's, and that is my main concern, and the reason why I don't think those amateur attributes would carry on into this specific fight. That's just what I was thinking there.
So she's 33.
She's 33.
Amanda Serrano.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you look at her record as well, 42-1-1. She's had a real tough pro career. Whereas Katie Taylor is probably, even though her age, and she had a lot of amateur fights, she's only 20-0. That could be a big telling factor late in the fight for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Taylor's only 35 though, isn't she? There's not years and years in between it, is there?
No, and as a pro, fighting a kind of pro style, she's a lot fresher. Which is why she's carried her speed and carried her reflexes to the age that she is, I'm guessing, So come on then. Let's have it, Cedric. How does the fight go?
I am picking Serrano with the KO. Not a one-punch KO, but specifically like a combination where the referee would have to come in and stop it.
Right. Okay.
That's the thing. And you know what? Just the round that I'm thinking. You know what? Is this a 10 or a 12 round fight?
10 rounds.
10 rounds. 9th round stoppage.
Oh, wow. Okay, Carl.
I keep changing my mind on this one, I'll be honest, because I think it's a right tight fight, I do.
Yeah.
But as I sit here now, I'm going for Andy's tactic. I'm going for Taylor. So I think Taylor will beat her on points. That's my opinion.
So I'm going to say, I think Amanda Serrano. I think Katie Taylor's getting Amanda Serrano at the right time. Even though, and I've said it on our show previously, Cedric, I agree with you. I think Katie Taylor's just over the hill. I think she's lost a little bit of speed and a little bit of movement. She gets caught a hell of a lot more than she used to. She's had a couple of fights, recent fights, where they weren't really gimme fights, but they weren't the hardest. And I think that's going to help her in this fight, that she's had a couple of fights where she's not had to dig really deep like she did in the Pursuit fights or the Tasha Jonas fight, for examples. But yeah, my opinion is Katie Taylor wins on points. I think she outworks her. I don't think Serrano will be able to keep the pace going down the stretch.
That's what I believe. I believe Serrano will be able to keep up that pace. That's where we differ. That's where we respectfully differ.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's all about opinion. It's all about opinions. Cole, do you want to pick them last couple of comments up from Matt in the sidebar?
So Matt says, would like to see Taylor jab and move, not get caught trading like she has done a bit in recent fights. Joe says Taylor on the slide. I do agree, but I still think she's got enough to actually beat Serrano. So Joe says Taylor's on the slide. Serrano technical knockout, 8th round. He believes the ref will wave it off.
Bit like Cedric. Cedric, you got someone in there agreeing with you, mate.
There we go.
I agree with Matt. I would like to see Taylor do that. The problem is when she gets caught, she likes to stand and trade. She likes to kind of prove that she can come out with the last punch in the argument. It works 90% of the time. You know,
I think the case of Taylor of 3 years ago takes Serrano apart. If I'm being brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
But I feel she's just on the slide a little bit, which makes it a closer contest. But I still believe she's got enough in the bank to beat Serrano. Yeah.
Where is this? Is Serrano moving up or Taylor moving down? Is this a catch weight?
Serrano's last fight was at lightweight, but the two previous fights before that were at feather. So she's moving up.
Okay. Oh, Serrano's moving up. Yeah, okay.
And I'm not too sure that makes a massive difference, to be honest with you, Cedric. I mean, watching them stand face to face, there's not a big difference in size.
No.
I think it just comes down to which one's got the most left. I mean, my personal opinion is I think, and this is a big shout, I think Katie Taylor retires after this fight.
If she loses, or whether she wins or loses?
Wins or loses, I think she retires.
Well, where did she go from here? You know,
listen, I mean, when else in her career is she going to headline Madison Square Garden main stage in an undisputed fight against, arguably one of the best women fighters of all time?
And she'll probably never admit this, but she can see the young pups coming over the hill. The young hungry fighters, coming over the hill, and does she even need it anymore? She's been a trailblazer for the sport. She paved the way for other female fighters to be earning the purses that they're doing. So props to Katie Taylor. And there's a lot to be said for getting out at the top.
It's funny that you mentioned specifically that hill, because they, a lot of the great athletes in any sport say that the only thing that's harder than making it to the top of the hill is staying there. Katie Taylor, she's been there for a while, and she's been fighting all these people off, and after a while you just get tired of fighting. It's like, man, just leave me alone. So it's so it's like for her, I'm hoping she doesn't have, and that's there's always that mental thing for some fighters that are already thinking about retirement, having one foot out the door already. I hope is not in that mentality already. Like, if I lose this, I'm just going to retire. Like, you don't want to. I hope she's not having those thoughts in her. So,
couple of comments in the sidebar. Matt says Taylor needs a fight in Ireland. She'll get thousands at a stadium there. Good shot.
Yeah.
And Joe says Caroline Dubois stops Taylor.
I think Joe mentioned that he fell over and bumped his head earlier on today. I think you've seen the effects of that, Joe, to be quite honest with you. Caroline Dubois is a talented prospect, but come on.
Bit early.
Yeah, that's a bit early. Let her.
I think it's a bit early for Caroline Dubois. A couple of years down the line, I'd agree with you, Joe. So, Cole, another great show. We're just over the hour mark. I think we call it a day there.
Yeah. So, Cedric, cheers for joining, fella. Much appreciated. Good input as always.
Thank you.
Everyone in the sidebar, Matt, Joe, and Counterpunch, thank you for your comments. Again, great show, great input. And suppose we better put up with you next week. So, same time, same place next week. Last World Boxing in partnership with South Bank Bar City in Nottingham. See you next week. Take care, everybody.
See you
Cheers,
guys.
lads.